Toing's Pops is the most popular candy store in all of Baltimore. People of all ages flock to it for entertainment and food. However, something feels off. There have been reports of increased radiation around the area in the past, and characters seem a bit too real. Toing is the main mascot of the store, succeeding the previous mascot. Being the head guy, he doesn't like being second place. He will become overly aggressive if that happens. However, staff are there to calm him down. Staff are not there after hours. There is nobody to calm him down. You anger him, and he is coming for you. Toing's Pops is a mascot horror developed by Dish Soap's Foamy 999. The brief introduction I've just shown you is an attempt to make it seem more terrifying than it actually is. You see, Toing's Pops only took me about 20 minutes to beat, and about half of that time was me trying to figure out the mechanics of the game. I kept trying to figure out where to go, how I was dying so much to Toing, and the overall direction of the game seemed to be quite confusing for me. The game also seemed to be quite unoptimized and janky at times. However, with all of that said, I believe I could see the potential of this indie horror game and give an enlightened review. Hello, Auddie and Ence. I'm your host, MedioCurt, and this is an enlightened review. Toing's Pops. Allow me to try and get you immersed. Let's set the scene. We enter the Toing's Pops candy store, and immediately we hear a voice. Looking over to the right, we see a yellow figure. We don't catch on to what he says, but it seems like he noticed us come in. Odd, but we ignore this for now. In the distance, we see a red-spotted anthropomorphic cat. When we approach him, he greets us.
Oh hey, how's it going? Welcome. I'm not gonna beat around the bush here. I know why you're here, and I don't blame you. I'm glad you're here. Things are crazy nowadays. People detecting radiation. Toing and I, in general, my friend who used to be just like us going missing. People seem to be completely oblivious to what's going on. Normally, with radiation like what's been detected, you'd have every government agency in the country here within 5 minutes. Yet, nothing. I have information though. I've been sitting on it for a while just for something like this. I'll grab it in a bit. I just need to get everything closed down for the night. You know. You should go talk to Toing if you haven't already. Maybe you can get some information out of him. You'll have to look through the narcissism though, so, be careful not to upset him. He has some serious anger issues that have gone neglected by the staff for a very long time. Once again, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you. Stay safe.
Alright, so there are a few things we can gather from this dialogue, as well as a few questions. 1. Why would there be radiation in a candy shop? 2. Who is this friend of his that has gone missing? 3. What is this information that he claims to have? We can gather that Toing is that yellow figure we saw earlier. That, and Toing is the new mascot of this candy shop in Baltimore. From what the Red Catman says, it looks like Toing is narcissistic and has anger issues. And it seems like the staff haven't done anything about these alleged anger issues. Something to note for later. We take the Red Catman's advice, who we know is Bink from the Blue Arcade Machines, and go over to the other room to talk with Toing. As we approach, Toing greets us.
Hello and welcome to Toing's Pops. Yeah. Toing's Pops. It's like it should have always been like this. I am the one, the only, Toing. Adored by millions, hated by none. I was just about to play my favorite game. A shame that it has to be adorned with my less than adequate precursor. Even though I am better in every single way, I do worry. I wonder what happened. Even though he was a bumbling buffoon who cannot tell his left hand from his right, I'm sure he'll find a way. I, however, do not think you can find a way to beat my high score. The only possible way it can be beaten is by cheating. I simply cannot be beaten legit. I welcome you to try, however. It will be ample entertainment to see you not even come close. So come on, show me your best.
We can start to gather that Bink's claims seem to be true so far. From talking with Toing, we notice his narcissistic attitude and his belittling of others. He mentions his
less than adequate precursor.
This is Boing, as we can see from the arcade machine, and it looks like not even Toing knows what happened to him. So we've answered one of the previous questions we've had. Who is this friend of Toing's and the red cat that has gone missing? It was Boing. Now it looks like we'll need to find out what happened to him. Going back to Toing in his speech, we agree to play this arcade game to see if we can beat this high score of his. We look to the screen and see that it looks like the title screen is missing textures. That's odd, but let's continue. Once we press begin, the game starts and it looks like our character in this arcade game is a missing texture. And it looks like we're in some sort of jungle with trees littered across the plains, as well as bananas. Maybe the game was unfinished or tampered with, but despite this, we can gather that the objective is collect as many bananas as you can. With 30 seconds on the clock and counting, we collect all the bananas we can and we did it. A new high score. That was easy enough. We take our faces away from the screen and notice that the lights are out. Only the light of the screen can be seen in the pitch blackness of the room. We appear to have been rewarded for our achievement, a pair of novelty glasses. But what happened to the lights? We pull out our flashlight and look around. We hear Toing monologuing to us again, threatening us now.
Oh, you do not know the terrible mistake that you have set into motion. You sealed your fate, and you did it all over again. Nobody does it. You cannot get away with cheating. I have one piece of advice for you. Run.
Looks like Bink was right about Toing, but we didn't cheat to get that high score. Maybe all of this was a misunderstanding. We feel compelled to put on the novelty glasses as we gather our bearings. As we put them on, the room is illuminated in a bright blue glow. We can see blue energy that seems to form a path ahead. It seems to allow us to see into the darkness, unobstructed. Despite this discovery, we remove the glasses and make our way out of the room we were in. As we enter the main lobby, we hear footsteps, jumping about. It looks like Toing is angry, and now he's after us. We run around the candy store, avoiding Toing as we look for a way out. Occasionally, we put on the glasses to give us some extra sight into the darkness. However, we notice one time while putting on the glasses that it seems to make Toing disappear, but he can still hear and see us. For some reason, these glasses allow us to see into the dark, but not Toing. We manage to run into a room as we escape Toing. It looks like we're cornered with no way out, but we feel an inclination to put on the glasses once more. Once we do, we see that a room is revealed to us, something that we couldn't see earlier. In fact, while in this hidden room, we are unable to remove the novelty glasses. This new room we entered is full of desks and monitors. We interact with the middle monitor, and we hear it. We turn around now and see letters that read, "Follow the symbols" on the wall, as well as a dark hand with what looks like a blue orb in its palm. Was something trying to contact us now? Did these glasses let us see into another realm? We exit the room now and decide to look for these other symbols. As we see more and more symbols, they lead us to a room with a large metal head on the desk, as well as a computer. To the left, we see a vent just above a couch. A weird place to have a vent, but nonetheless. It's open, and it looks like it might lead to a way out of here. We crawl into the vent now. As we make our way down the vent, we hear a voice in our head. There is only one way. You cannot escape otherwise. I know you are desperate. We exit the vent, and immediately, something feels off. Trust me, the voice tells us. We enter what looks like a nearly empty room with a few empty shelves, a table, and a pod of some sort, with wires connecting to it. Also, to the left of us is a large black box that looks like some sort of shelter. After examining the room for a bit, and finding nothing of interest, we decide to put on the novelty glasses once more. As we do, we see a key on the table, something that definitely wasn't there before. We take the key and a lockdown commences. Panicked, we begin to search around the room for a way out. Behind the pod, we see a button. Maybe this would open a door somewhere for our escape. We press it and the button seems to have activated the metal pod. The pipes glow a familiar blue. A buzzing is heard. It pulsates and grows louder. This thing is about to blow. Through the chaos, one of the vents above us is thrown open and Toing lands into the room. We scramble our way back to the black box from before and press a button to open it. We quickly enter and close the door behind us. Within seconds, the pod explodes and we hear the scream of Toing as he is blasted along with it. The sirens seem to die down, and we exit our shelter. We see the room is in disarray as we exit, and under the rubble, we see the remains of Toing. His skin seems to be charred blue, and we can see glowing blue cracks rippled throughout. This isn't how we wanted this to end. But it looks like the blast door from earlier has collapsed from the explosion, and we can leave. We make our way out of the room and enter the hall, only to be stopped by a locked door. We head back to see if there is anything we can use to break the door down, but then it looks like the explosion didn't kill Toing. Instead, it seems to have mutated him and brought him back with a greater vengeance. As he writhes in pain, his body begins to glow, and trails of blue light begin to form around him. He slams to the ground, a pulse of blue energy bursting from his body. Panicked once more, we run back to the door that stopped us previously, but we see that it has been blasted off its hinges. It looks like the energy from Toing's burst helped us get past that door. With no time to think, we take the opportunity and run. As we run, we can hear Toing close behind. He is determined to take his revenge on us. We run down the halls until we encounter stairs that lead upward. We hastily make our way up the stairs and slam the metal hatch doors behind us. Unsure if that will be able to stop this mutated Toing, we continue our escape to a door with a green light above it. Just beyond the door is a blast door. We run over to it and open it. We crawl under it as it opens and step onto a metal scaffold that leads to yet another metal blast door. Our freedom is just ahead. We feel a sense of relief wash over us as we make our way to the final door that leads to our freedom. However, our relief is quickly turned into dread as we turn around and see the mutated Toing. We cut to a scene of Bink as he approaches the doorway with the large blast door. Sirens blare in the distance as the door opens, pouring an eerie blue light into the room as Bink stares in fear. He turns and starts running, and that's the end of the game. Credits start rolling, and we're still left with many questions, as well as the 2 questions from earlier. Playing throughout the game, I saw the potential in Toing's pops. At first glance, you might look at it and think, oh boy, another Garden of Banban. In fact, that's what one Steam review alludes to. I must admit, when playing the game, I was starting to think the same thing. The characters' mouths don't move, the voice acting is a bit awkward, and the models of the characters have this uncanniness and oddness about them. However, I looked past this and tried focusing on the story that was being told. That's where I saw the most potential. I acknowledge that the whole mutation through radiation trope might be a bit overcooked, but despite that, I saw how it could work for this game. I'd rather it be a secret underground research facility with questionable ethics than another paranormal horror game. Those come about a dime a dozen. I tried getting myself immersed in the story and world that this game creator was trying to make, putting myself in the shoes of our protagonist. Well, for the most part. If I entered a candy store late at night, only to be greeted by a weird yellow man and an anthropomorphic cat telling me about radiation in this building going crazy, I'd try to leave as soon as possible. However, it looks like our protagonist is either associated with this place, or might have been hired by someone to investigate this candy shop. If we take a look around the shop, we can see 3 different types of arcade games: Toing Runner, Bink Fighter, and Boing's Ball, which is the only game we get to play. And it doesn't really have anything to do with Boing, the character. In fact, it might be safe to assume that the missing texture square we move around in the game used to be Boing. Maybe Toing tampered with the game and removed all traces of his precursor. Speaking of the Boing game, I reopened Toing's Pops and played the arcade game without grabbing any of the bananas, and it still said that I reached a new high score. So no matter what you do, you will get a high score. It's a scripted event. I thought maybe we'd get a line of Toing mocking us for how badly we played, but there was nothing. It's clear to see that this arcade game is bugged. Now, I noticed that in the version of the game I played, which was the latest, I didn't get a pop-up tutorial on how to use the glasses, and how they worked. I saw the prompt that said, press C to use glasses, but it never told me that when the glasses are equipped, you're unable to see Toing. This led to me dying multiple times to Toing. At first, I thought the game was bugged, but I eventually found out that the glasses make Toing invisible. Lore-wise, I started to believe that the glasses allowed us to see radiation in some way. When you put on the glasses, you can see what looks like veins on the walls. I started to think that this was a way of showing that the building was highly radioactive. I still think that this might be the case, but there's also evidence that the glasses make our characters see into another dimension or reality. The glasses remind me of the Vanny mask in the Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach DLC. When you put on the glasses, you're able to reveal a hidden room and item. I like this mechanic, and I hope it can be explored more in a future update or game. In the game, you have to enter this blue circle in order to reveal the hidden room. This can be a bit buggy at times, and the first time I found out about this, I kept bumping into the wall. Writing the script now, I'm starting to wonder if these novelty glasses were something used by the researchers in order to be able to enter hidden rooms in the candy shop. The screens on the monitor show a room that we will enter later in the game. The only way to enter this monitor room is to wear these glasses, so maybe one of the researchers or scientists left them behind or lost them. At this point, it's only speculation. After interacting with the monitors, we can see a hand on the wall and words telling us to follow the symbols. Obviously, this is to progress the game and move us along, but this is what started to make me think that the glasses might have done more than just let us see radiation. We see a physical hand, or a PNG of a hand on the wall. Maybe this is an otherworldly being trying to reach out to us, or perhaps even Boing. We have no idea what Boing looks like. So for all we know, he could be stuck in a world between worlds, only able to communicate to us through symbols in the shared plane of existence. Or perhaps he left behind clues for us to find him. That voice that seems to speak to us could be Boing communicating with us. Maybe he is able to telepathically communicate to us as we grow closer to the source of all of this. That, or it's just the developer's way of pushing progression in the game. But it's nice to imagine that there's something more to it. Before finding my way to the vent, I came across 2 rooms. The first room I entered had a red bed in the corner and a desk with 3 monitors to the left. There also seemed to be a microphone. Maybe Bink was a YouTuber.
No! No! No!
Speaking of Bink, this is his room. If we come up to the monitors and interact with them, we'll be shown a lock screen with Bink's name on it. I wasn't able to figure out the password, sadly. In fact, the first time I opened the computer, I knew I didn't have a password, so I quickly exited. However, I went back to it when I wasn't recording and tried a few passwords I thought it might be. None of them were correct. I didn't see any sticky notes or any dialogue that might have given a clue to the password, so sadly, this will remain a mystery for me. Going to the second room, its walls are yellow with smiley faces littered across. There are many mirrors on the walls, and even one above the bed. If you couldn't tell Toing was a narcissist, now you could. The yellow color of the walls and bed, as well as the faces on the walls, are a clear indicator that this is Toing's room. With all of this unchecked narcissism, it's easier to believe that Toing would flip out on us after we somehow manage to beat his high score. Going back to the Steam description, it says that the characters seem a bit too real. Maybe this was due to the radiation, or these characters have been sentient the entire time. Either way, it seems there have probably been some experiments conducted at this candy shop. Bing doesn't seem to know anything about it as far as we know. We don't know what information he has. All we know is that he was fixing to tell us, before we accidentally angered Toing. In the room with all of the monitors, we can see this reactor on one of the screens. It looks like the researchers, potentially the staff members, have been monitoring this reactor. I gathered that this candy shop had been running some kind of experiments, and it looks like one of their mascots either got caught in the middle of it, or found out too much, so he had to be disposed of. I'm, of course, referring to Boing. He was either a victim of the experiments, or he stumbled across them and ended up becoming part of it. There's further evidence to prove that there have been experiments being conducted in this facility. The end cutscene shows what looks like an underground bunker that seems to go further down. The door we were walking to probably leads deeper into the facility. In fact, it looks like there is some sort of elevator. It looks like the character we were playing as has most likely been killed by mutated Toing. So if there was ever a sequel game, we'd most likely be playing as someone else. That's all I could gather, given the short runtime of the game and the limited dialogue and environmental details, but I could see the potential story forming from it. I've spent quite some time going through the gameplay footage, replaying some parts of the game, and doing some research on the developer Foamy999. His main channel looks like he focuses on Destiny 2 content, and he's still active on it, posting what looks like once a week. He also streams on Twitch. During my digging, I saw a comment that he left on another channel that played Toing's Pops. He mentions working on a free DLC, as well as the second game. Hopefully a new DLC or game will reveal more of the story, and we'll see how much of it I got right or wrong. Reading the Steam reviews, none of them really brought up any constructive criticism. The reviews I saw either seemed to be negative, or what I assumed to be sarcastic. One of the reviews shares my enthusiasm for it though. Let's bring up some honest, constructive criticism now, and point out the good, bad, and mediocre. The music, at least for me, is good. I like the feel that it brings with the synths. I think it fits well with the theme of Toing's Pops. One song that stood out for me was track 12, Want It All. For me, it has a mysterious and enticing feel to it. The song itself seems to be the only one with lyrics, and it's Foamy999 singing it. Even though it's heavily auto-tuned, I enjoyed the singing. I like the song in general. For someone that, at least as far as I know, hasn't done any music content, this song in particular was very good. The rest of the OST for Toing's Pops was pretty good as well. It gave off this futuristic and mysterious vibe for me. So, if that's what you're going for, Foamy, you did well. The mechanic for the novelty glasses was also good, and I believe it was one of the highlights of this game. It essentially allows you to see in the dark, at the cost of not being able to see the enemy. I hope it'll be more elaborated on and used in the second game/DLC. One thing that was bad for me was the flow of the game. Like I mentioned before, it was confusing, and if I hadn't been persistent, I would have never finished the game. Thankfully the building wasn't too large, so I eventually found out where I was supposed to go. But what confused me the most in the beginning was the novelty glasses mechanic. Since there was no pop-up for me, I didn't realize until later that Toing disappeared when you put on the glasses. In one of the reviews, this seems to be the reason why they were unable to progress. I think giving the player a map of the area could help, and perhaps naming the rooms on the map so the player could be told where to go. Or, if you didn't want to go the map direction, maybe some additional dialogue would help. Dialogue explaining the odd placement of a vent above the couch in that one room. Or something else that would hint towards the player needing to enter that specific room in order to progress. Another suggestion I could think of is environmental clues, notes on the ground, in the computers, or in different rooms that would hint at having to travel deeper into the building. I would also suggest some environmental clue or note that explains the function of the glasses. The overall pacing and flow felt a bit jarring at times. The animation for Toing chasing you was also bad. It seemed more goofy than anything.
In New York, I merely walk. I did it myself.
Sure, it was tense when you ran past him and heard him chasing you, but if you were to look back and see his chasing animation, it immediately removed the fright factor. I realize that this may have been Foamy999's first attempt at animating, but I feel like it still needs to be pointed out. Obviously, one's first animations won't be good, and they will get better over time with persistence and dedication, so I won't focus too much on this subject. There's not much I can say for improving the animation, except maybe try and make Toing's chase animation more aggressive and jagged. He's filled with anger at the fact that somehow you beat his high score, so perhaps his chasing animation should reflect that. One thing that I found to be mediocre was the pathfinding for Toing. I could easily get him stuck on objects, or just go into a certain room to get him to stop chasing me. This broke immersion and severely lowered the threat of Toing. I don't know anything about coding, so I'm not sure what you could do to fix this phone. But if there's a way for Toing to detect when he's stuck and backtrack a bit to resume the chase, that would help. Also, during the last chase scene, it was a straight path to the exit. I think it would make things more tense if there were objects in the path, or things we could interact with to interfere with Toing's pursuit of us. Toing seemed to be pretty fast, so if he decided to add these things, he might also decrease his speed as well to give the player time to avoid/interact with things. The voice acting was awkward. Again, I know this can't be helped if it's your first time voice acting, but I feel like it should be mentioned. In fact, as I type out this script, I can already imagine how awkward and cringy my voice will be, since this will be the first video with me speaking on this channel. Again, I'm sure your voice acting will get better with time and practice. Overall, the game seemed a bit vague and empty. I feel like later installments of the game could elaborate more on the secret happenings of the candy shop, and maybe a bit more elaboration on the characters we encounter. As I said before, I see the potential in where the story could lead, and with seeing that, I found myself enjoying the game more. I look back on it and wonder about a few things I've encountered, and where it could lead to in the future. In conclusion, keep at it, Foaming. For a first game, I think it's a good start. I found enjoyment in trying to put together a story for this candy shop in Baltimore, and I look forward to playing the future DLC and second game. Another thing I forgot to mention at the start of the video is that the game is entirely free, so keep that in mind as well if you decide to play it.
You asking why I'm down in Maryland? It's for business, so stay out of it. I don't want you to know. It's for me, it is not for you.